Welcome to Voice of Stories. Discover tales that inspire, captivate, and bring words to life. Subscribe for unforgettable stories.
The gleaming mahogany desk seemed to stretch like an ocean between Ashley Hayes and the man she had foolishly given her heart to. Richard Parker stood behind it in his top-floor office, a corner suite in Parker Agricultural Industries, a converted Victorian mansion that dominated Main Street. His custom-tailored suit was flawless, the charcoal fabric likely costing more than Ashley's monthly salary. But his face, once warm and gentle, now held a hard expression she barely recognized. "You actually thought I'd leave my wife for some secretary?" His voice dripped with contempt as he stared at the positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands. "How naive can you be? Did you really believe all those little promises I made?" Ashley felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Just yesterday in this very office, he had held her close, whispering dreams about a future together. He'd spoken of a house, of his marriage finally ending, of a family they'd start. But now his eyes showed nothing but disdain. "But Richard, you told me," she stammered, fighting to keep her voice steady, aware of the curious stares from beyond the office's glass walls. "You said your marriage was over, that you and Margaret were just staying together for appearances. You said you haven't shared a bed in over a year. Please." He cut her off with a dismissive wave, the light catching on his wedding ring. "I was just being nice to an attractive employee. If you read more into it, that's on you." He adjusted his Italian silk tie, a Christmas gift she'd bought with 3 months of savings. "And honestly, who even knows if that baby is mine? With a girl like you, well, let's just say I've heard things." Ashley glanced around the office, noticing their colleagues openly staring. Sandra from accounting was watching with her mouth open, while Jim from marketing was furiously typing on his phone, probably ensuring the entire company would hear about this. Even Linda, her closest friend in the office, quickly looked away when their eyes met. "I've never been with anyone else, and you know that." Her voice was barely a whisper now, shaking with hurt. "You were my first, Richard. Everything I did was for you." Richard's gaze sharpened. "Well, I know one thing. I can't have someone trying to trap me working here. You're fired." He pressed a button on his desk phone, the same phone he'd used to call her late at night. "Security will escort you out. And Ashley, don't try to make trouble. Nobody will believe you over me. Remember, I employ half this town." Within minutes, 2 security guards, Mike and Carl, appeared at the door. They usually saved her parking spot on rainy days, sometimes even brought her coffee, but now they couldn't meet her eyes. Richard turned back to his computer screen. "Clear out your desk within the hour and leave your company phone and laptop. Can't have you taking sensitive information, can we?" The story spread through their small Connecticut town faster than a wildfire. At the cafe along Main Street, in the pews of First Baptist Church, and in the aisles of Parker's Fresh Market, the rumors grew. Richard Parker, the town's golden boy, was targeted by a scheming secretary. In the days that followed, Ashley felt the weight of gossip everywhere she went. Women clutched their purses closer as she walked by. Former friends avoided her on the street. Old Mr. Jenkins at the farmer's market, who once always gave her extra produce, now refused to meet her eyes. The stories only got worse. At the pharmacy, she overheard women whispering about supposed wild parties she'd been throwing with truckers. At the laundromat, someone had scrawled "homewrecker" in lipstick on one of her blouses. On Facebook, the group for local events filled with thinly veiled posts about young women who don't know their place. The confrontation with Mrs. Dorothy Winters came 3 weeks after her firing. Ashley was struggling to carry groceries outside Pine Grove Apartments when Dorothy's voice pierced the air. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," Dorothy spat, her face twisted with disgust. "Trying to ruin a good man's reputation with your lies." "Mrs. Winters, please." Ashley tried, clutching her grocery bag. But Dorothy was relentless. "We all know about your wild parties. Did you think we couldn't hear the music? See the men coming and going? You think you can ruin a man like Richard Parker?" Ashley's groceries slipped from her hands, oranges rolling across the sidewalk like the tears she refused to let fall. As she knelt to gather them, she noticed people recording her on their phones, ensuring her humiliation would be tomorrow's entertainment online. That night, in her tiny, cramped room, Ashley began to pack. Raised by her grandmother with no family to turn to, she felt completely alone. Her grandmother's small brick house in Cedar Grove, a village 3 hours away, floated back into her mind. The house was probably dusty and run down, but it was hers, and right now it was the only refuge she had left. As she picked up a framed photo of her grandmother, she whispered, "What would you think of me now, Gran?" She wrapped the frame in a sweater, her heart heavy, then glanced at her packed bags. By 3 a.m., she was on a bus bound for Cedar Grove, determined to leave the gossip and shame behind. The job listing at Joe's Auto Repair caught her eye as she waited at the bus station. Cleaner wanted, flexible hours, no experience necessary. It wasn't much, but it was something. When the bus finally pulled into Cedar Grove, Ashley made her way to her grandmother's house. The red brick structure looked smaller and shabbier than she remembered, its paint peeling, the white picket fence faded. She pushed open the door, and a wave of memories came rushing back. Her grandmother's rocking chair still sat by the window, and the calendar on the wall was frozen in the month her grandmother had passed away. Determined to make a fresh start, Ashley spent the afternoon cleaning, opening windows, sweeping away years of dust. As twilight settled in, she had managed to make one room livable. Exhausted, she collapsed on the old couch when a faint sound broke the silence. A soft, muffled cry from the basement. With her heart pounding, she opened the basement door, her phone flashlight casting long shadows. "Is someone there?" she called. She heard the crying again, and when she reached the bottom of the stairs, she saw her, a little girl, huddled behind boxes, her face streaked with tears. "Please don't hurt me," the girl whimpered. "I want my daddy." Ashley's heart broke at the sight. "Sweetheart, are you hurt?" she asked gently. The little girl sniffled, her dusty blonde hair in tangled pigtails. "Mommy said to wait here. She said she'd come back, but it's so dark and I'm scared. Come with me. I have cookies upstairs." As Ashley brought her to the living room, the girl, Sophia, shared her story. Her father, Christopher, was a firefighter in Millbrook. Her mother, Olivia, had hidden her in the basement, promising to come back. But that morning had turned into afternoon, and then night. Ashley's mind raced. This wasn't just a case of a lost child. Somewhere in Millbrook, a father was likely frantic with worry, searching for his little girl. Ashley found the phone number for Millbrook's fire department. "I need to speak to a firefighter named Christopher. It's about his daughter, Sophia." Moments later, a deep voice came on the line. "This is Christopher Matthews. Do you know where my daughter is?" "She's safe," Ashley assured him. "She's with me in Cedar Grove, at 1242 Oak Street. Her mother left her in my basement. Please don't let anyone take her. I'll be there as soon as I can," he choked out. An hour later, Christopher arrived, his face etched with relief. Sophia ran into his arms, clinging to him. He turned to Ashley. "Thank you," he managed, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for keeping her safe." Over the next few weeks, Christopher began visiting often, fixing up her grandmother's old house. At first, he insisted it was just gratitude, but slowly their bond deepened. "You're pregnant," he observed one evening, noticing her hand on her belly. "Are you here alone?" With each passing day, their connection grew. Sophia began to call Ashley Mom, and Christopher proposed they move in together. Their small wedding took place in the backyard, Sophia beaming as she scattered petals. Months later, Ashley gave birth to a baby boy. Christopher held him while Sophia cooed over her new brother. Sometimes life's hardest moments lead to unexpected blessings, she realized. One day, Sophia showed her a newspaper clipping. Richard Parker's business empire had collapsed under charges of fraud, and his wife had filed for divorce. Ashley only smiled. She had found her true family, and no rumor or betrayal could take that away. As a warm summer rain began to fall, Ashley stepped onto the porch, inhaling the fresh air. Sometimes you have to weather the storm to finally find your way home.